Hey guys, we're going to do our notes from August 19th. So in your notebook, you would write August 19th if you don't have those. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over our X and Y axis again. So what I want you to do is I want you to start at the top of your page and I want you to go down 6 lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to label this the Y axis because the Y axis runs from top to bottom. So it's always running in that vertical position. And then we're going to come out and make that perfect perpendicular. And I know it's not going to be quite perfect, but that 90-degree angle. And this is our horizontal axis. So this is our X axis. So now we want to go ahead and label our stuff. So we're going to start right here by putting a 0 because this is our 0 line right here at this intersection point. And we are going to start with labeling our graph going up. So we're going to label that first line 1, and that second line 2, and that third line 3, fourth line 4, fifth line 5, and the top of mine is 6. If you go up above that, it's perfectly fine. If you go to another line, just label it 7, 8, or however high you go. Now we're going to go across on your x-axis. So we're going to label this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have a little bit more room, so I'm going to do 7. So I need you to go ahead and I need you to have your graph drawn, and we're going to label this origin point because our start point is always at 0, 0. So origin is going to be 0, 0. And today we're going to start, I'm going to give you some points, and we're going to start with the beginning shape of a square and then figure out our missing point of what our mixing point would be at 0. So I'm going to go ahead and give you your points. We're going to move down just a little bit, and we're going to start with that parentheses that tells us we're at a coordinate grid. So I'm going to go to 3, 2. That'll be my first one. My second one will be 5, 2. I'm going to close the parentheses. My third one is going to be 5, 0. I'm going to close parentheses, and then I'm going to draw a line because I want to know what coordinate grid point I'm going to need to make that square. All right? So we're going to go back to the very first one, and the very first one is 3, 2. Now we know our first number is our x-axis because x-axis always comes first. And we have to put our arrow because it's going to tell us to move to the right. So we're saying if we're starting at 0, we're moving over to the right 3. Our second number is our y-axis, and it is telling us to go up. So we're going to go up 2. So if we were going to plot this point, we would go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and we would go up 2 lines. So 1, 2, and we're going to put our point of intersection right here. Now this comma tells us to change. So we went over, changed direction, and we went up. So let's work on our second one. Again, the first number is our x-axis. It's telling us to move over to the right. Second number is our y-axis, and it is telling us to move up. So on this one, again, we start back at origin, and we go over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because there's a comma, we're going to turn directions, and we're going to go up 1, 2. And now we have 2 points of intersection on our graph, and now we can connect point 1 with point 2, and we have the beginning of our shape. Let's go to point 3. Again, the first number is x, and it is a 5, and we're moving 5 over to the right. And our second number is on the y-axis, and that tells us how many we're going up. And this time we have a 0, so we are not going up at all. So we're going to start at x, and we're going to move over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Comma, which means we change directions, but since we have a 0, we are not taking any steps, and we're going to put our point of intersection right there and connect our points. And we have the beginning of our square. So now it's asking us, where do we have to go to finish this square? And we're going to want to go right here because that we would want to go straight down and straight over, which leads us to an intersection point right there. So then it says, what would that be? So we're going to draw, and we know the first one is x, and we have to move over to it. And the second one is y, and we would have to move up to it. So let's look at x. If we start at 0, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So since we moved over 3 spots, our first number is a 3. And since we don't go up at all, our second number is a 0, and we have made our square. All right, so let's look at that page 310 in our workbook. Now, if you're working on your workbook, what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video right there, get out your workbook and pull out page 310, and we're going to go ahead and get this done. So it says, find the order pair 1, 3 on the coordinate plane. Label it point A. Use point A as a corner and then draw a right triangle. Label the other corners with letters and list the coordinate pairs for all the corners. Explain how you solved the problem and how you know you drew a right triangle. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the letter A, and according to our paper, A is at 1, 3. So we know the first number is X, and that tells us how far we go over. And the second number is Y, and that tells us how far we go up. And now we can come to our graph and we can plot it. So we started our origin. We move over 1, up, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to put our dot right here and label that A. Now it told us that we have to make a right triangle. And since we're making a right triangle, that tells us our triangle has to be have a right angle in it, or a 90-degree perfect corner. And since it said this was our corner, we're going to use that as our hinge point. I'm going to pick the letters B and C as my other 2 points. So to make a triangle that has a right angle, I know I have to have perpendicular lines. So I know I have to go straight up, and I'm going to go up to the 5 because that will give me a big angle. So now for 5, or for B, I'm going to label that B. I need to know what my points would be. And my points are very simple. I'm going to start at origin. I'm going to move over 1 again. So I'm going to put a 1 as my X. So I'm right here, and I'm going to jump up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to put a 5 for my Y, and that's going to be my up. So that takes care of B. Now my problem is going to be, I know this has to be a triangle, and I know that I have to come out because this right here has to be that right angle. So I'm going to put my point right here, but I'm going to connect from B to C because technically I would do this in order. So let's figure out where C would be. Start again at origin, and I'm going to move 1, 2, 3. Because that's where my point is, and 3 is on my x-axis, and that tells me that I'm moving over to the right. And since I'm right here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, and 3 would be my y-axis, and so 3 is my up. And I have done all 3 points and made my angle. But it says explain how you solved the problem and show how you drew a right triangle. So right here, by angle A, I'm just going to put that it's 90 degrees, and that is how I know that it is a right angle. Good job, guys.